I was 13 when my teacher took me to the corner of her room, having given a speech on gay liberty and queer love, in a space and time where this was not rhetoric or condoned. Her eyes looked right into my own, pierced with a needle of concern right through my bones. "Claudel, you have an old soul," immediately following a strand of warmth through my pocket square under the skin of my chest that remained unknown. From an unripe age of 6, the weight of the world felt like the branches of apple trees at the end of September, with no visitors or contributors. And as the days go by and the weather gets colder and jackets are ordered, the apples fall slowly like timber, still with no visitors to witness the fallen fruit slowly freezing into the grounds, buried into the soil to never be found. I lived in a world up here in my mind, thinking about warm woven blankets and stitched cording, with the smell of apple pie on a beautiful Sunday morning. I would dream and I would create a world in which families embraced and kids that played under the shadows of the leaves and the trees of apple orchards. You see, avoidants like me begin conceiving imageries and stories of heavenly universes full of glimmering stars and glistening planets that end up in old, abandoned libraries and deserted laboratories like old orchard trees. These untold stories create a separation between the world we live in and the world that we have created using cosmos of what we believed. They create a separation between the love we desire and the love we fear we might never acquire that feels like scrapes of barbed wire. Why should we sit here around this campfire when all we remember were the times we caught fire, remembering the hands that pointed at us like gunfire? Fuck! How can this not be satire? We dig and we dig and we dig, shoving our old folk tales and mythical stories of dragons and saviors, the ones we dreamed of in our little bunk beds that maybe one day would come save us, and they never did. And from the unripe ages before the orchard trees renew their new leaves, we then held 2 completely different inventories of truth and fallacies. We begin locking the doors to these libraries and laboratories. We begin throwing these fluffy books in the campfire we fear might burn us. We rip apart the pages that maintain the stains of our tears. We wrap ourselves in armor to keep ourselves away from the barbed wire. We create bulletproof vests and begin pushing away our peers. We cut apart the years we lived in fear with shears. Under the galaxies, we build forts with walls and ceilings with no cracks or caves. From the outside, seemingly untouchable, but on the inside, fearful of being sunburnt from the night sky. Stepping out of a world we once wanted and hoped for, and into one we know we can lick our wounds using our own tongues, our voices unsung. And alas, I am here to share a secret with you about my own fortress, stone wall and metal ceilings, that in this dark room I have posters of the cosmos and planets, frames of apple pie on a Sunday morning, of apple orchards and beautiful libraries, carrying the stories I once sang to myself, using my young vocal cords alone in the safety of my bunk, thinking of warm blankets and knitted slippers to cover my goosebumps. But hear me when I tell you that when this bunk bed turned into a bunker, the war in my head never went to bed. Artillery ahead, bombs and grenades came in instead. These rough edges still carry memories, the little baby's diaries. I see her sitting there with a hole in her chest under the pocket square under her skin, wishing and hoping someone would see her under the spined apple tree of her memory. I see her there, rummaging, searching for the keys she buried under the rubble of her dreams and mythical fantasies, chasing after the old dude wood fallen from the trees, thinking that maybe she can rebuild the old shelved libraries, that maybe love still lives in the stars and moons of the sky we see, that maybe the armor and shield she prisoned herself in is the enemy, that maybe fire can soothe the chills that live in the veins of the barbed wire that ran through her, that someday maybe someone will see that maybe it wasn't because of me. One day she will decide to grow her own apple tree, starting with one seed, every Sunday morning looking out her window with the smell of bakery, wrapped around using the warmth of strands now threaded around the pocket square of her sweater, writing love letters. And when the apples grow, she will pick them every September, drinking apple cider around the campfire, and retell the chronicles of the damp weather using the telescopes fabricated from the metal brick from the bunk now tethered, looking up at the cosmos, knowing that love is not something to be achieved, but to be received. To get to that realization that it's what we all need.